Tonight, millions of Americans are directly in the path of dangerous, severe weather. A massive storm system is now exploding across the United States, stretching from Texas all the way to Maine. Forecasters are warning about destructive winds, giant, baseball-sized hail, and even tornadoes as powerful thunderstorms intensify through tonight. And the worst part is, this is only the beginning of a much larger weather pattern that could continue for days. Here's everything you need to know about America's next severe weather outbreak. America is once again preparing for a major, severe weather outbreak. And this storm system is not just targeting one state. It stretches from Texas all the way to Maine. More than 90 million people are now in the path of dangerous weather today. Damaging winds, giant hail, intense lightning, and even a few tornadoes are all possible through tonight. But what makes this event even more concerning is that this active weather pattern is far from over. Over the next several days, multiple storm systems are expected to continue developing across the United States, bringing repeated rounds of severe weather to parts of the plains, Midwest, South, and East Coast. So, in today's video, we're going to break down exactly what areas are at risk, when the strongest storms are expected to hit, and what could happen later this week as the atmosphere reloads once again. Let's get right into the forecast. Right now, one of the largest severe weather zones of the year has developed across the country. The Storm Prediction Center has placed a huge area under a slight risk of severe weather, stretching from Texas through the Ozarks, the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, and all the way into parts of New England. That is an enormous region under threat today, and surrounding that area is an even larger marginal risk extending from Maine all the way back into Louisiana and Mississippi. The highest threat for stronger storms today appears to be centered over the southern plains and the Ozarks, especially across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and nearby states where storms are expected to become far more widespread during the afternoon and evening hours. The biggest threat today will likely be damaging winds. Many storms could produce wind gusts between 45 and 65 miles per hour, capable of knocking down tree branches, causing isolated power outages, and creating dangerous travel conditions. In a few isolated cases, the strongest storms may produce winds approaching 70 to 75 miles per hour, but that's not the only concern. Large hail is also expected today. Across parts of the Midwest and Ohio Valley, storms may produce hail around the size of quarters or ping-pong balls. But farther south, especially near Dallas-Fort Worth, southern Oklahoma, and central Texas, conditions may become favorable for supercell thunderstorms capable of producing baseball-sized hail. That kind of hail can easily shatter car windows, destroy roofs, and cause major damage in just minutes. If you live anywhere across North or Central Texas today, protecting vehicles and staying weather aware will be extremely important. Now, thankfully, the tornado threat today appears relatively low overall. However, it is not zero. A few isolated tornadoes could still develop, especially in central Texas, where rotating supercells may briefly intensify during the afternoon. There is also a small tornado risk across portions of the Ohio Valley and near the Great Lakes, where isolated spin-up tornadoes could develop along broken lines of storms. As we move into the timing portion of the forecast, things begin ramping up quickly through the afternoon. This morning, a long line of thunderstorms is already moving from parts of Illinois back into Oklahoma. Those storms are mainly producing gusty winds and heavy rain, but by lunchtime, storm activity is expected to intensify near the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Arkansas, and parts of Missouri. Then, during the mid-afternoon hours, scattered supercells may begin developing across west and central Texas. This is where the greatest hail threat is expected. Some storms could rapidly become severe, producing giant hail and extremely dangerous lightning. Meanwhile, farther north, storms may also begin developing near Indiana, Michigan, and Kentucky. These storms are expected to remain more isolated, but a few could still produce damaging winds and perhaps a brief tornado. By late afternoon into the evening, severe storms will likely become widespread across several states at the same time. Storms near Detroit, Indianapolis, Little Rock, and eastern Texas could all be producing severe weather simultaneously. And during the evening hours, attention may increasingly shift back toward Texas. Forecasters are concerned that storms developing across West Texas could organize into a stronger line of thunderstorms capable of producing widespread damaging winds as they move toward cities like Austin, San Antonio, and eventually Houston overnight. The good news is that once we move into Wednesday, the overall severe weather threat begins to decrease. There will still be scattered storms across parts of the Great Plains, Mid-Atlantic, and Ohio Valley, but the setup no longer looks as favorable for a widespread major outbreak. Instead, storms will become more localized and less organized. However, the atmosphere is not completely calming down. A new weather pattern is beginning to develop across the western United States. A low-pressure system near the west coast is expected to continue feeding moisture and instability into the plains over the coming days. That means Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas could remain stuck in an active storm pattern for much of the rest of the week. At the same time, isolated severe storms may continue developing along portions of the East Coast as smaller disturbances move through the atmosphere. Right now, meteorologists do not expect another massive nationwide outbreak over the next few days like the one we've recently seen. But that does not mean the danger is gone. In fact, forecasters are already watching the period between May 25th and May 28th very closely for the possibility of another stronger storm system ejecting across the Rockies into the central United States. And if that happens, another significant severe weather event could develop across parts of the plains and Midwest. So this active spring pattern is definitely not over yet. If you live anywhere across the central or eastern United States, now is the time to stay weather aware, keep emergency alerts turned on, and have multiple ways to receive warnings, especially during the overnight hours. Because during severe weather season, conditions can change very quickly. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this forecast and want more extreme weather updates, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the latest storm coverage as we continue tracking this dangerous weather pattern across America.